Okay, I'm recording. Is the thing recording? I see the red lights.
I see it says
Can you guys
record.
hear my voice? Like if I do this, am I still in focus?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
Is he shiny?
Just his nose.
I look like my nose is shiny.
It's because the light is reflecting
just-
off of it.
Okay, I'm trying to work on this. So just make sure I'm not too shiny. I don't want people to think I'm sweaty.
Yeah.
That's
Much
good.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good. So I'm still in focus.
Yep.
Howdy everyone, and welcome to Mob Hammer 40K. I'm Mob, and welcome to our very first video. Behind the camera, I have my fiance Lily, as well as my other friend Lily. Together, they are the Lilies. Think like the Daniels, except not as funny. Quick little information about myself is that I actually started playing Warhammer 40K well over a decade ago, long ago during 5th edition, back when I was in high school. For me, the most important part is building that community, and so I'm back here to share my love of miniature painting, gaming, and also some of my video art. So, welcome. Something like that.
That was great. But yeah, that was great.
Back when I first started playing, I started with Tau. I just love the anime look, the giant robots. Just thought those were so cool. I'm giving thumbs down for Lily. Let me try that again.
I don't know.
I
I'm
thought
just
that was
saying
good.
that was good, but I just don't like Tau.
But regardless of that, I love big stompy robots. And what do you get when you like big stompy robots? You get into knights. Right here I have an Armiger Warglaive. I've actually got two of them that I fully painted, and I'm very excited to walk you through the painting progress I'm going to do for an Armiger Warglaive. Warglaive.
I think you said both names wrong again.
Helverin and Warglaive?
Yeah.
Was it not Helver?
I think you said Helvern.
I think you said
Helverin.
First things first, I have to prime all the armor pieces and paint those separately. If you start with Vallejo Black Primer and High Flow Medium from Golden, I put those in my airbrush, and we get right to spraying. For my next step, I grab Celestra Gray, dry palette, and my dry brush. For my painting technique, I will be making use of the slapchop method, so making sure that the gray looks good, I start applying vigorously to the model as well as all the armor bits, making sure that I create nice definition with the black underneath and just raising up all the edges. This is going to look really great once I start applying color to it. After you apply it to all the armor, you can see the difference here between the black and the gray. After applying to all the pieces, I then grab my Paraxity White and start applying that to create even more definition and highlights. This will make color stand out even more once we begin to add that. After applying the white and gray, the model has a really cool grayscale quality to it. I read a lot of manga as well, so I just really appreciate the finer details even without the color. Moving on to Necron Compound, a metallic dry brush paint. I apply it vigorously to the skeletal parts of the model. With the white and gray dry brush underneath, this really creates more definition as well as a shininess. I then apply it to the other pieces of the arms and weapons that require more of that metallic sheen, such as the saw blades and the guns. Pulling out some ultra-thin masking tape, I get ready to mask off and tape parts of the model where I will be adding color while still maintaining smooth and straight defined lines. This process definitely involves a lot of patience and time, but the effect you get by the end is totally worth it. Grabbing some Imperial Fist contrast paint, I load that up into my airbrush. I absolutely love the look of contrast paint through the airbrush, especially when using the slapchop method. It just creates such a nice gradient and texture on the model. Unfortunately, sometimes you can't be that precise, so I go back to grabbing my white dry brush paint and I apply it over the places where I had some leaks of paint. Going from there, I add another layer of masking tape where I'm going to be protecting the yellow, from where I add the Vallejo Express Color Plasma Red paint. Again, I put that in my airbrush and I start applying that to the red parts of the model as well as the armor bits. Taking Magmador Flame and Yandian Yellow, there's a heat exhaust effect I like to add to the armigers. Spraying through the airbrush allows me to create this glow effect throughout the model as well as help clean up some prior airbrush mistakes. Removing the masking tape, I can see where I made some mistakes, but don't worry, we'll come back to that later. Grabbing my wet palette, I get ready to move on to some of the finer details. Grabbing a lead belcher, I thin it out on my wet palette, getting ready to apply to the model. Although this is quite fine detail work, it's okay to remember that there are ways to cover up any mistakes you make. So don't worry when making your way through this if it feels like it's taking forever. You will have an opportunity to clean up any mistakes you make after the fact. Taking the Plasma Red Express paint, I put it on my brush and start again applying it to the more detailed sections of the model which will need the red. This also gives me an opportunity to clean up any sections I may have missed previously with the airbrush. While that dries, I go back to working on finer details with lead belcher, such as things like screws, rivets, again allowing myself the patience to go back and clean up any little mistakes I made during this process. I continue picking out the details and colors I may have missed previously, including the feet. It was at this point I decided to get even more detailed and add the caution lines that you see on some of the Warglaive's models on Games Workshop's websites. Taking the masking tape, I then draw out all the lines and start applying black paint to create this effect. For a first attempt, it was a little bit messy. I apply a white to it, knowing I will cover it up with contrast paint later on. Allowing that time to dry, I grab Soulstone Blue and start picking out glowy bits I want on the model to look bright. I then grab Tesseract Glow and start applying it to all the cables and dangly bits on the model, just to give it a lot of definition. Applying Imperial Fist Yellow, it gives a nice weathering effect on the model. Taking Bone White, I get ready to pick out all the little skulls found throughout the entire miniature. Taking Nona Oil, which is one of my favorite shades, I apply it to all the metallic pieces of the model, which create even more definition than we had before and just creates an even better metallic, oily look to the entire piece. As you can see here, I actually went through and put on all the armor bits, so the model itself is actually complete. Now we're just missing something to make it even better. Basing. Taking Golden Light molding paste, I apply it to the entire base. Thematically, all of my Armiger's knights so far look like they're coming from the water, storming a beach, and I intend to do that with this one as well. I use a dry brush to clean off any bits of the molding paste that got on the model. After letting it dry, I grab Nighthawk Gloom and I put that into the airbrush and start applying it to create this nice little watercolor. Grabbing Nuln Oil, I again apply that to the water just to fill out even more of the definition and shades on the inside. This can take a bit of time to dry, but once it is, I grab Game Colors Arctic White, put it onto my wet palette, and load it up on a nice long brush. Then I use this to create edge highlights on the waves to make this foam that's coming out from the water. As a final step, I grab Art Coat, which is a very shiny varnish, and put it onto the water, which will create a nice wet sheen. And now, before I show you the final product, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm hoping to have fun and new content come out regularly, and I would love to hear about what you'd like to see, as well as hear about your own hobby progress in the comments. So how do you think it turned out?
So there we have it, guys. We have one Armiger Warglaive. And I'll be completely honest with you, if I wasn't focused on also simultaneously filming, I probably could have completed this thing in a span of 2 to 3 hours, which for an entire unit, which comprises of about 1/8 of my entire force, that's pretty freaking great. And for me, what I really want to do is I want to get these things on the board. I want to play them as soon as possible. I got on this because I want to go out and meet people. I want to play with them. I want to make friends. And I want to just challenge myself to get out there. Even if you can't have a chance to fully paint your models, it's better to play with gray than not to play at all. So be kind to yourself. Get out there, get some playtime in, and I'll see you in the next video.
So if this is 1/8 of the unit, Matt.
Yeah, well, 1/8 of the army.
Sorry, 1/8 of the army, and these guys are pretty big. There's nothing bigger, right?
Than these guys?
Yeah.
Oh, there's definitely something bigger than these guys. I already got these fun guys here.
Whoa.
They take up a pretty big space in the case, too.
That's bigger than our dog.
Well, you should wait until I get into some bigger There's bigger
Wait,
ones
there's
out there.
bigger ones?
There's bigger
I
ones.
have a question. How much are those, pray tell?